Hello and welcome to today's session where we start a new play by Lorraine Hansberry, A Raisin in the Sun. This play has a slightly different flavor from the ones that we have discussed so far. It also belongs to the same generation in some sense, though in the 1950s. So this was written by Lorraine Hansberry and it debuted the stage in 1959. It was also a Broadway production. So maybe very quickly in one of the sessions we will also talk a bit more about the Broadway plays and the off-Broadway plays. This is a play which is structured in 3 acts. The title is taken from Langston Hughes' poem Harlem. So this is where it draws from. What happens to a dreamed effort? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? So this also addresses a lot of questions which are connected with race and gender, and it's also very centrally located in the concerns which the nation as a whole has been addressing. So we find that the treatment of race here is very different from how we saw in the first play that we discussed in Emperor Jones, where a lot of other techniques, non-realist techniques, a lot of expressionist techniques had to be brought in as tropes in order to facilitate a discussion. So we find a more pungent realism at work. There are a lot of objects and the supplementary language which also contributes to the overall spirit and the overall theme of the play. So we find how the American theatre is evolving through these different stages and these different themes, and particularly we find the 1950s very powerful in terms of the ways in which it's addressing a lot of concerns which are very central to the society. Here too we notice that, just like we noticed in a lot of other plays, here also the life of the individual is very important, and the life of the individual becomes the center from where a lot of, from where it takes off to the other discourses. So this is a play which is semi-autobiographical in nature, and this is again something which would resonate with a lot of other playwrights too. There's much that they draw from real life while they are crafting their characters. So this is based on the racial discrimination that Lorraine Hansberry's family faced when she was young, when she was growing up. It's about these conflicting ideals. It's about these conflicting notions that the American dream talks about. On the one hand, there's opportunity for everyone. There is a promise of prosperity, material comfort, and all kinds of success and fame. But there are also these delimiting factors which operate in the form of class and here in the form of race. And it would be difficult to say which one is more tragic than the other, but we find that having looked at Edward Albee's play just before this and looking at Lorraine Hansberry's play here, we know that the tragedies are of different kind altogether. It's very individualistic in nature, but the kind of impact that they have on the society, on the larger ethos, is almost quite similar, and they are irrevocable as well. So this is a play which went on to win the Drama Critics Circle Award for the best play in the year 1959. So most of the plays that we are looking at here, they were successful in 2 different ways. They were they were massive Broadway successes, and they were also had received a lot of critical acclaim. So Lorraine Hansberry thus also became the youngest playwright and the first African American writer to win that award. This play thus becomes very important in the historiography of American theatre itself by marking a lot of new beginnings in such forms. And so these different angles of gender, race, and class, we find all of these coming together in this work. So this is the plot summary in a nutshell. It's a story of an African American family and about their struggle to negotiate with each other and to improve their economic conditions. So class in some form, the economic realities, they also become characters over there. So this is also specifically following a set of incidents, a set of events that happen after the insurance payout they receive right after the death of the patriarch in the family. So we find class, caste, and gender operating within certain set frameworks. There's also a lot of bureaucratical elements coming in, and it makes it a very interesting combination in terms of the realism that it has. So again, to reiterate, the approach towards race is very different, radically different from how race was treated maybe in a play like Emperor Jones. Yeah. So these are the major characters. Walter Lee Younger, and he is the protagonist of the play. He's very ambitious, like most typical characters in these plays are, and he dreams of becoming rich, because this is also an offshoot of the promise that the American dream holds out. So when the Youngers receive this insurance money, Walter invests it in a new liquor store business, and but he also ends up losing a lot of money. So this the tragic turn of events, the crisis which happens here, which is economic in nature, it also reminds us. It also reminds us of All My Sons and the prosperity which came through war, and the crisis of a different kind which operated there, and the various crises in Arthur Miller's play which get foregrounded. And as a contrast, we also find there are, of course, plays like You Can't Take It With You, where this entire economic system, this entire framework which celebrates fame and success is rejected. Yeah, but this play also tells us, Raisin in the Sun also tells us that sort of a rejection, that negotiation is also sometimes not possible when one is located in a different gender or race reality altogether. So Benita Younger is Walter's younger sister. She's 20 years old, and she is the most educated in the family. She aims to become a doctor. So if you notice, there are these very definite markers of these youngsters in the family who aspires to become rich, who aspires to occupy certain positions which would take them ahead professionally. So her desire is also, her ambition is also has a political import, because she really tries hard to achieve an identity as a well-educated black woman. So here, this aspiration is not just individual; it's rooted in certain anxieties and certain ambitions as within her community as well. So these aspirations have a larger impact and a quality over here, because her achievements or her underachievements will also reflect on her community. And this anxiety is something that we do not find with the other the white characters, so to speak. Yeah, the anxieties work in a different way altogether. The focal point seems to be the family and never the community at large. But here it is about the larger identity and this desire to map on to the privileges of the nation from these specific community locations. So Lena Younger is Walter and Benita's mother. She's religious and practical. She wants to use the insurance money to secure a good house for her family. So you find this practical element in Glass Menagerie also in the mother, where she also wants to make the future secure. So we find these tendencies at work in multiple places, and we are able to find a pattern which will also help us to reflect on the microcosm which the American theatre foregrounds. She chooses a house in the white neighborhood, citing that the house is affordable. Yeah, so here we find that there is a mixture of ambition and practicality over here about what to do with the money. She's religious and practical, and there is money and there is ambition. So this her identity as a black woman makes it all the more complex when she is trying to negotiate these different aspects which are otherwise seen as a part and parcel of the American dream. So Ruth Younger is Walter's wife, and she is also a pragmatist, and in her pragmatism is very different from that of Lena Younger. So unlike Lena, Ruth wants to stay satisfied, contented with what they have. So she, in fact, her kind of ambition may not sometimes it's not seen as the model which could be replicated, but she stays very strong emotionally and helps the family to navigate through the rough times that they have. So with this we come to Travis Younger. He is Walter and Ruth's son, and he tries to make some money by doing certain mundane jobs like carrying grocery bags. He also is a very light-hearted fellow who tries to play with the children in the neighborhood, and he sleeps in the on the living room sofa as he has no bedroom of his own. That also tells us about the condition of the family. And this the living room space which gets described is again a recurrent trope that we can see in most of these American plays. And the living room, its location, the way it's presented, the way it is, the furniture is placed, the way action happens there, that also tells us a lot about the characters and the families that they are part of. So Joseph Azagai is a Nigerian student in the play, and he's very proud of his African heritage. So he's in love with Benita, but Benita also, learns a lot about her own African heritage from him. So we also find the differences between Joseph Azagai and Benita here, because though both of them are racially similar, their backgrounds are very, very different. The cultural backgrounds become very different. So this play in that sense accentuates the difference between race and culture by also trying to show that just because one belongs to a certain race, there's no guarantee that there's a shared culture. So towards the end of the play, we find that Joseph Azagai proposes to Benita, and she accepts the proposal and accompanies him to Nigeria to practice medicine. Yeah. So this is, we will come back to talk more about the play when these aspects and the decisions over here, and how the community, how the locations of gender and race influences such decisions. That's something that we will come back to talk again about. So George Murchison is a wealthy and educated boyfriend of Benita, and he assimilates himself into the white culture and he denies his African heritage. We do find the anxiety and stress at work over here when these characters are caught in these in-between spaces. So Benita also dislikes him entirely for this attitude, but the younger family, by and large, they like him. So this appropriation is very significant for us to situate the characters and also the larger matrix within, through which the play operates. Mr. Carl Linder, he is a representative of the white neighborhood, which is presented in the play almost like a character. And the younger family, they are planning to move into that predominantly white neighborhood. He makes an offer to buy their house, and because he's saying what he's trying to do is just trying to avoid an interracial conflict, and because he does not want that sort of attention over there, and he's offering to buy the house. And incidentally, he's the only white character in the play, but there's a lot of whiteness in the form of appropriation, in the form of assimilation. That's something, again, we would explore in detail as we make more, as we read through the play. Bob and Willie Harris are two friends of Walter, and he initially Walter wanted to start this business with them, but Willie takes the money and he just disappears with that, and he leaves Walter in a huge financial trouble, in a huge debt. So the business patterns and the trouble that it could take individuals and families into, that's something that we explored in All My Sons as well. So this also showcases the other side of American Dream, the other side of these highly individualistic ambition, the highly individualistic spirits which are led entirely by ambition. We find that that there's also a flip side to it. One could land into huge financial trouble if not treading very carefully. So Mrs. Johnson is the nosy neighbor of the Youngers family, and she's the one who's also warning the family about moving into a white neighborhood. So irrespective of having spent considerable time in America, we find that there is a lot of apprehension about the whiteness, about encountering whiteness, about moving into certain spaces which are predominantly white. It also challenges and complicates the question of race. It complicates the question of the American dream and the possibilities that it offers as well. So to take a quick look at the historical context, the play is set in the 1950s in America, and it's also, like we have seen before in the other plays too, it focuses on this conservative society, politically as well as socially. The decisions that are being taken, the moral canvas, the moral compass which is at work, the economic decisions being taken, they are all influenced by this conservatism. So sometimes this conservatism also borders onto a certain kind of a regressive behavior which becomes delimiting to individuals and families. So here, because of because the characters in question are also African American in nature, this has a larger import because this conservatism has a very specific kind of impact, a specific kind of effect on these characters, the families, and the decisions and the associations that they have with the world around them. So the idea of the American dream here also we find is very popular. It continues to be this encouraging, inspiring theme for the masses, and people are also, they are continuing to be assessed, evaluated as individuals, as families, based on the financial security that they manage to secure and the material possessions that they manage to gather. So in such multiple ways, we find that the historical context is quite similar to that of the other plays too, but there are these unique attributes of race, unique attributes of particular kinds of ambitions, which are also heavily determined by ethnic identities. They give a different flavor altogether. So it's also the time when the civil rights movement is beginning to pick up, where African Americans, along with their like-minded whites, they were, a white population. They are fighting for ending legalized racial discrimination. So this play also celebrates those movements. And again, when we are looking at specific aspects, specific instances in the play, we will be talking more about how these political movements had a lot of bearing on the formation of such plays. So we will bring this session to an end with this, and we will discuss more about the historical context while we are also reading through the play together. So I strongly encourage you to start looking at the play so that the context becomes more clearer to you, and we will of course delve deeper into some of the specific aspects and the themes which this play foregrounds. So with this, we wrap up this session for today. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session.